a mid laner that could very easily be picked up in this game as something that we might look at on B1. Reminder that the Azir, not now with the Talia, not now with the Orianna, and it does get banned away.
But you do give over Trundle, so Tian's going to gobble that one up. Rumble is still available. Yep, so that's a champion that Cube has opted to play, like many top laners in the LPL. That one will be locked in. Monki not going to pick just yet here, knowing the Trundle is the answer. They're instead going to get the Aurora for a lot of spacing that you can bring with these two champions' ultimates.
Relatively early Aurora taken here, but Karis has been one of our more proficient Aurora players. It's now what does Xiaohu decide to take into this? Frequently we've seen more scaling oriented picks into the Aurora, or a Silas as well, something to try and stave off the laning phase but then pop off in the mid to the late game. But Victor gets locked in here, so Xiaohu with a lot of pressure and putting that little bit of a clock onto WE here. Yes, you're going to have some really solid mid game, but if you try and dice with us late game, we're going to be able to take you.
Question becomes now, what does Breathe want to pick into Cube? Don't think there's any big bottom laners that you'd rather gobble up here. Instead, he's going to pick what has been his most consistently well-performing champion, I'd say, in Split 3, Cassante, the ultimate nullifier of whatever carry top laner it tries to go against.
Yeah, I'm surprised a little bit that we don't see the Ornn, but you are quite right that this is more Breathe-coded in the sense that he's able to take this and probably handle his business on that top lane quite well. Karis actually, for Taeyoon, locking in this Ezreal, so giving Taeyoon this playmaking capability early on and then pinching the pool of those marksmen in the second phase does mean that they're going to lose out on some high priority for those junglers. I'll be curious to see what it is that Weibo go for banning here. Maybe they're going to take away some really good supports. I think Weibo here, they're happy if WE take the Xin Zhao, if they take the Vi. They've got the Trundle matchup for it. So Weibo, it makes sense that they ban away some of the good supports that would be highly prioritized that you can blind and
Great
then
ban.
put yourselves in a good position.
I love this ban. You have a Victor in the mid lane. You have Rumble's best jungle pairing with the Equalizer. Get rid of the Jarvan. That is huge because it also further opens up more AD carries for Light to pick. He doesn't have to lean on trying to pick a dash-based AD carry in this game with Ezreal and Corki already off the board. Very smart ban, and they might just continue to kind of pigeonhole and take away a bunch of Monki champions like you were talking about, so that they force him into a matchup that is not good into this Trundle.
It does need to be one of those AD junglers, so I expect Monki probably to just have a pretty rough time of things with regard to whatever jungler he ends up picking here. The double AP solo laners kind of warrants that, and magic damage from the Ezreal as well. It could do with being some pretty heavy AD damage coming out from Monki. We'll see what it is, but if Vampire wants to take a blind pick here, could look to see a Nautilus or something, Leona maybe, if they want some engage. But I do not mind this necessarily as a way to stop taking AD. But equally, like you said, you're picking a tank into Trundle here, and you're giving over a lot of stats. You're going to be giving over that HP. You're quite easily able to stop the Skarner from going crazy if you can use the E at the right time. So I feel like Weibo have given themselves a really good way for Tian to impact this game.
They're going to get light on the Jhin, which I highlighted in the first game. I think he's been one of the most proficient Jhin players this split so far, and you now have a pretty potent range duo in this Victor and Jhin that have a lot of innate CC to create space for themselves as well, and let the Trundle and Cassante run wild on that front line, lean into their sustain. Clear identity for Weibo coming across. The Bard is going to make things fun, as it always is, because Bard is one of the most fun champions to watch play on Summoner's Rift.
Ezreal Karma gets locked in on that bot side though. Bard really good versus those melee engaged supports if you can stave off the aggression, but equally can get bullied out by a Karma here in the early stages of this game, especially with an Ezreal by their side. Expect some high volatility down on this bot side. Spacing going to be really important with it being 4 range champions, and keeping our eyes on Light, how well he's able to utilize that 4th shot. Some of those skill shots as well going to be very, very important. And the hands checks level 1 early on going to be very, very important. Junglers as well, Monki, Tian, both of which can make an impact in that bot side really early on. I'd like to see that be the case.
The case here for WE though, Rude, is in that early phase. Is it a bit audacious to say they should have 3 pushing lanes in their favor to open Monki up?
It might not be audacious, but I don't think that you can ever get It's Karma push, so it's okay. You can probably get push bot lane, mid lane as well, probably not too bad. And then on that top side, it's really whether or not you're expecting the K'Sante to fight. And, you know, I wouldn't put it out of the realms of possibility here, Slayer, that, you know, those 3 winning lanes and the 3 pushing lanes at least could just happen.
And with the Skarner, you can drop camps to find effective ganks, and you have very unique paths to do so with that Ixtal's impact. It's what Monki has made his bread and butter on. Looking for early skirmishes, finding man advantages, and getting WE on that snowball as early as often as they can. But the crutch of this team has not been going to 3 games in a lot of their series. It's been closing out series after they find themselves leads. And boy, do they need a win here to find their 2nd series win in the 2nd round robin half as we bring in the Jayos.
A little bit more evened out, I'd say.
Yeah, there was some major outside noises going on. They're throwing me off a bit. There was like it wasn't like an alarm sound, but there was something blaring in the background that threw off my gauge for this one. Let's see how our AI League of Legends game state reader feels about this game. Bit WE favored earlier on, maybe with the power of Aurora, Rumble, Skarner, and the push lane of the Ezreal, but scaling goes to Weibo.
Yeah, Victor is basically the fault back. Good angle, Q goes wide. As it is, you know, this Karma Ezreal lane, you're able to actually punish very, very heavily. And even start to go for these early invades as far as mid lane goes as well. Karis have a little bit more range than the Victor to work with.
A lot of
Q from light bounces across everybody, but they have to get back into this lane.
They certainly do. Not going to take another Mystic Shot, but interesting adaptation here from Monki to force vertical clears. Trundle is a full clear merchant, so at the very least of that, it's going to make that full clear a bit more wacky, a bit more treacherous once he goes in towards the enemy side of the map.
So for WE, as we've highlighted, it's about using these early pushing lanes. And
oh my lord.
The early aggression from Karis, you can see already not doing too bad a job. It's about using these early lanes to try and generate an advantage early on. And I actually really like this from Tian. He's skipping his top side to go and invade as soon as possible, just because you can already see if Monki decides to walk in and try and take any of these camps on his top side, his mid laner is going to be able to collapse very easily. So we need to get in that top side early, make sure that I can steal this away before the mid lane pressure seeps into what I can do.
Gonna go next for the chickens, and will not be compromised going for it. So great shout out there, and great understanding of the lane states there from Tian. So we do see the bot lane getting a pretty good push alongside Karis, and yeah, he's gonna look for that gank angle. Xiaohu has gotten a bit more healthy to at least try and assist in this gank, but Karis kind of just walks it on out, and Tian is losing time to clear his camps by sticking around in the mid lane. He does take over level 3 though, but leeches that XP from Xiaohu.
It is worth saying that we get level 3's down bot side. Nice root and good amount of damage, summon heal burn by Crisp. But it's worth remembering here that if a gank in the mid lane specifically from Tian comes through, Karis is always going to have that jump to just be able to hop over the pillar. Now it's about for WE, can they push this wave, and are they looking to dive Monki? And most importantly, did this ward actually spot Monki as he moved in and takes these Krugs? Because they're looking for a dive now. Wave has been pushed, no heal on Crisp.
All right, here we go. And the Ishtal's impact, gonna slam into a wall. Chris can immediately flash, but there is that clutch eat from Skarner, and they're gonna give the kill over to Taeyoon. Great execution, use of the summer heal from Vampire and Monki to bring the CC in.
Go again.
It felt so nice. Why not do it twice? Now Light's gonna flash, but he doesn't get far enough away from Monki. Burns the barrier. Taeyoon has to do the same as well. Vampire shielding should be enough with a rock throw for Monki to pick up the second kill. But mid lane, we see Karis under threat. He's got to flash. Tian's gonna follow. One more auto will do it, but the slow is gonna stunt the trade. Tian kicking himself, not able to find that kill.
So a 2-for-0 down on the bot side, and the pressure from WE to start this game quickly has been met. Already the Jhin Bard down 13 CS and forced to burn double summoner spells underneath their turret and still go down. Light now trying to make his way up to the top side to try to get away from this difficult laning phase. But the start off from this, really well executed. Vampire toggles the aggro first of all, and then they repeat dive this. And look who takes aggro here. Taeyoon. He has the most HP, so he knows he's the one who has to take aggro. He even uses barrier to make sure that they can do this. And then it's just shooting fish in a barrel. If Taeyoon had have landed the Mystic Shot, he'd have got the kill. He missed, so his jungler has to step up and take it down regardless. But you just know that they would have sat under the turret, firing those skill shots, waiting to take Light down, and they may just do it again here. No flashes.
Yep. No summoners, no stun from the Bard. It's a stun on the Eshtal's impact into the wall, and feats of warfare secured for WE, and they've gotten all 3 of those kills, making it Crisp problem.
You can take the bot lane out of bot lane, but you can't take the bot lane experience out of the bot lane, unfortunately. And for Xiaohu, he's able to find a good trade in the mid lane, but it's nothing to offset the woeful time that his bot lane are having. Wherever they go, they're just getting 3-manned on repeat.
We've said it so many times today, Rude, but Monki keeps forcing us to bring it up. This guy, early in games, tank jungler, carry jungler, bruiser. It's just so awesome watching him find these unique angles, and what's not awesome is seeing him get caster cursed as he finds himself in a 1v3, flashes over the fat wall. He's trying to wait for the Ishtal's impact to speed him up through the wall, but the shield for Vampire is not in close enough range, and Tian will get Weibo on the board.
Alright, well, Karma had flash. I'm spam pinging that as well. I don't know whether he'd have got out to safety, but I would have loved to flash Karma shield there to keep the Skarner alive, just to really enforce your narrative. As and now on this top side again, Crisp has got the portal, so he can just hop over this wall. Let's see if they stick around to try and farm these creeps, and they don't show themselves for those 2 ranged creeps, which then means that Tian goes back, because Light now takes a chunk of half of HP.
Oh boy, WE don't know it, but right as that Arcane Shift forward came across, Tian hit the base. So
yeah,
sometimes it's just poetic timing.
And look who's top lane. Look at the minimap. Look who's here again.
Oh my god.
Hello!
Again? Oh, I see you guys don't have your flashes back up yet. I'm going to make that a problem.
Heal. They have got heal and they have got barrier though, so
and exhaust.
With yeah, summon a spell, but Crisp can choose another one. But Monki, look at his camps by the way. All 4 of them are up. And he could just be looking to farm. Instead, they are funneling gold into the Ezreal. More plates going to be going over. Another recall from Light and Crisp. They know that even if this is 2 versus 2, they can't step up. And this Jhin, look at Swifty Boots and a longsword. He's in poverty land right now.
Yep. And he's just going to lose more ways into this turret. It's going to be hard for them to even walk up. Vampire and Taeyoon are going to be able to reset pretty comfortably, and yeah, Taeyoon's wall is going to look pretty fat here on this reset.
2 levels up, almost double the CS as well as Crisp. Looking for some recalls. Is he going to be able to get back? No, he's not, stunned up against the wall, so a bit greedy from Taeyoon there. Means that he loses out on a little bit of the tempo on that recall and probably loses a bit of the experience advantage that he did have. Fortunately enough, it's so massive anyway that it probably doesn't matter. As Crisp doing his best to interrupt as many recalls as possible before Karis calls the push wave into the mid lane. Xiaohu forces or uses the Chaos Storm as well to try and choke him out. But it's a question of top side versus bot side in this game here, Slayer, and a reminder that WE, we've talked about Monki being very aggressive in this early game. He needs to do that. This is a WE composition that cannot be undersold.
Certainly not.
It needs to do well early.
Without a doubt. And I do like to see that Tian accrued that farm lead and is now taking control of the grub pit for now. Trying to play back towards those resets on the top side. Gets all 3 grubs into the Trundle team. That's always nice if you win a fight. Trundle is going to obliterate these turrets. But first break is slowly but steadily lining up to beat towards WE as that top lane tier 1 is down to about 2 plates. We'll see if Monki back out on the Rift is going to make Dragon the trade here. Tian is going to clear back down towards that side. Monki has a full set of camps to clear on his own. His bottom lanes will return back towards neutral, but again, the 80 carries. You talked about the gold difference, and now we're seeing it culminate in those items. 2/3 of the Triforce already done here for Taeyoon, and Light isn't even 2/3 towards a much cheaper item of his own.
Matching up once again, Taeyoon and Vampire, the second that Light and Crisp try to get a little bit of a reprieve. They are met with the Ezreal Karma Poke playing duo. And I'm really happy from WE that they are able to look for this R5 counter pick. I don't know that the Karma has been completely indicative as to how this has gone, but it's been such a good pairing with the Ezreal that it allows for this level of zoning. Every single minion they can deny is more experience that Light isn't getting, and that Taeyoon is able to farm up another creep without Light ever getting there. You can see, though, on this bot side, they're pushing the wave in, probably not for a dive this time, instead to go towards that dragon. This is more of something that you would see in our solo queue games here, Slayer, where we have bot lane push, so my jungler starts the dragon, and it's the type of timing that we'd be happy with that as well.
No doubt in my mind. I wouldn't be happy about it, though, if it lets Tian just walk up towards this pit with Subjugate and get the slap around to Skarner. And that's what Tian's going to try and muscle his way through. Karis eats a full ult combo here from Xiaohu, gets the Arcane Storm out early. It isn't that much more hurt for it. Also no mana on Xiaohu, so I don't think Weibo can use mid lane usher their way towards this Drake pit. And the smite should come through for Monki, and yeah, he's going to pick up that dragon. Now look to push the temple. That's a nice pillar, though, from Tian.
Yeah, stops the Skarner in his tracks. It does mean that Weibo are able to get out unscathed. There's a good side step.
All right, Exhaust comes down. Tian looking for the trade, but there is the Impale. Curtain Call in the background is going to come through here with a couple of big crit shots, but Karis is going to drop the Between Worlds. 4th shot hits Vampire. I'll happily take that up because Tian should be the trade to predict Mystic Shot. Taeyoon is rent-free in Tian's head right now.
Just pops a Mystic Shot over the red buff wall. Says, yeah, you're going to flash here, buddy. Absolutely no remorse. Takes down Tian. And that's why you give this guy the gold. So frequently in split number 2, we were talking about WE being the Taeyoon show. Can he step up? And then they bought Monki in and it became the Monki show. But Taeyoon, he was the player for WE before they had this impactful jungler. And we do need this in a slow-mo. You're exactly right. Curtain Call comes through, isn't quite able to do enough damage. I think here, if Karis has enough mana for an E, this could have been very disastrous for Weibo.
Flash here, buddy.
Catch. Here, hold this.
Yeah, hold that, Tian. Oh, my lord. So now we got a 3-0 Taeyoon. I do want to bring it up because we talk all the time about most played champions for a lot of these guys and how high impact they can be. In the year of 2025, looking at the stats here, I'm seeing, I think it's, all right, 24 games. Taeyoon is, we'll talk about it in a second. He was getting 1v2. Portal diff, good thing he has flash, but there's the pillar used for the stun into the deadly flourish, but where's the damage, bro?
Alas, Tian still has not completed his Trinity Force, and he's not going to be able to get this way, but there's a teleport coming through from Karis. Crisp's going to have that portal back up to get out if they fancy it, but they're TPing in to try and take him down. There's a collapse from the bot lane, though. Is Breathe in trouble? No, everybody's fine. Everybody's walking away. Talk to me about the stats, Slayer.
Yeah, so Taeyoon has played 24 Ezreal games in 2025. The next best champion would likely be his Corki that barely crests over double digits. It is at 10.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Taeyoon's an Ezreal player. He defaults to this champ very, very frequently. Monki shows himself in the brush here and is just going to immediately make his way out to safety. But what's next for WE? Again, this is a composition that it gets worse as the game gets later now. They've pushed Light to be very far behind, but they haven't really done that to Xiaohu. So this Victor can still be a problem. Weibo can still scale into this game and let Xiaohu go crazy in these team fights. WE have to continue to push the time on this match. They probably want to have a decent advantage by that 15-20 minute marker. With only one dragon in their back pocket, they didn't get the grubs. Eyes turn toward that Rift Herald, toward that dragon in 2 minutes time, to see if they can try to find an advantage and start to push those neutral games a little bit faster. Because if they can't, it is just that ticking time bomb before the Victor explodes.
and a bit of a soothing agent to the ailment of this Ezreal as well. Does struggle into tanks later on, and with the subjugate onto the Skarner. Oh boy, Chris, you gotta be careful just checking Vampire like this. He's gonna land the root. Karis is right over the wall. Chris is gonna have to flash. Blue buff stolen away by Monki. True shot barrage. Just a bit high to snipe out Chris.
Not quite able to find the Bard on the top side as Monki now engaging. Has got Impale.
Yep, they're going to layer the roots. There's the Arcane Storm, but you have the Tempered Fate onto the two backline members that leaves Monki high and dry. Taeyoon going to dash back and eat the 4-shot here between worlds from Karis. He's going to space Weibo back out and shut down any further chase. But good catch there from Crisp.
Second time now in this topside jungle where Monki has got just a little bit too overzealous, costing himself his life. And it's a good punish from Weibo once again to be able to find that out. Crisp, like you said, with a really good Tempered Fate, kept them safe as breathe.
Face checking the 3 members, but he's super tanky by this point. He has all the AP, magic resist, and boy, nice deadly flourish there from Light. Kills actually go over to Tian. And now they should secure the Rift Herald. WE, it feels a bit illegal to be sticking around here this long, just layering poke, but doesn't ever stop the goal of Weibo Gaming, getting that Rift Herald locked down.
They have no jungler. Why? You know,
why?
Don't contest a neutral objective. You don't have spellbook. You have no jungler. Take the L. Monki step too far forward. You lose out on that objective. That's how it works. And you know, for me, this is a really difficult position now for WE to find themselves in. Yes, there's still a window for them to push the pace of this game and to get further ahead. But I'm really concerned for what Xiaohu can do in this game. 2 assists now on the Victor. That's an extra 40 stacks working towards that perfect Hex core. So he should be in a really good spot to make it to that. He's farming incredibly well. Got those couple of assists as well. So he's probably 2.5 of his upgrades already in. One team fight around a dragon is going to be all that it takes for him to finish onto the third, and you can see on the top side actually that he's been funneled a lot of gold by being able to take this turret all effectively solo, because there's a little bit of a hover from Tian that just allows for the back off of Q.
We are going to try and trade the mid-tier one, but Tian's on the flank, and he's trying to run down Taeyoon. Good stun comes across from Monki. Taeyoon is going to eat the pillar, but the impale from Monki, it's holding everyone at bay. Flashback from Taeyoon. Tempered Fate's going to grab him, though. Monki goes down. It has to be Karis and Cube on the flank. Try and shut down this play for Weibo. Taeyoon able to get back to safety. Arcane shifts away from the curtain call. But so much used for WE just to protect their AD carry and cut down waves. They still are yet to find a kill.
Equalizer is going to clear the majority of this wave here to defend that tier 1 turret. Karis will be able to secure it with the last hit, but it's Weibo once again stalling WE. Cannot emphasize enough how happy Weibo should be at this stage. We haven't really seen them explode in a team fight just yet, but this just feels like a matter of time until they're able to find that crucial team fight. And for me, Weibo are in a very winning position right now. It's going to be really tricky for WE to find these 5 versus 5 team fights. A double stun from Crisp starts it off. Taeyoon, you can see here, knows that he has to get away from Breathe and try to get away from the backline as well. As best as he can, he does manage to get out to safety between an early Q3 from Breathe. Does allow for the Ezreal to get out to safety without getting knocked back. But even still, as we come back to life with Vampire dead, Weibo are really stomping this game now.
Just all the speed of Tian, who we talked about was quiet early, but manifesting gold leads through taking all that farm away. Now he's got the Triforce done, he's 4-1, and with the fact that you can just subjugate onto this full tank Skarner every time, you effectively have 2 pretty fast-paced tanks running right at your Enchanter support and your Ezreal that really struggles to burn through high health bars.
And the same to be said for Karis as well, right? The Aurora, a burst champion. Doesn't deal well with having to do consistent DPS, especially up against your tanks. And that game now of bot side versus top side, well, you know, we did a really good job early on at getting Taeyoon gold and delaying Light. But look at the experience. Light is actually up over Taeyoon. Look at the items as well. Youmu's picked up early, got the Zeal finished as well. And these AD carries are on a par with one another right now. Whereas I look at that mid lane, I see a Mask and a Leandris versus a Leandris and a Rod of Ages. So in 3 minutes time, Xiaohu's going to get a really big spike because he comes on fully to that Rod of Ages hit. As Chris now should be able to just get out over the wall. But Weibo are in a really good spot.
Yep. And I love to see the Spectre's Cowl coming out from Tian. He's like, all right, it's an Aurora, it's a Karma, it's a Rumble. Even technically Taeyoon pushes out some AP damage with that Essence Flux. So you get a ton of value from MR in this game, and no one knows that better than Breathe as well.
Mechanic picked up for the Cassante, single best item really to just try and deal with the Rumble in the laning phase, and honestly has done a very good job at that, up to 200 gold. Both of these top laners not particularly contributing too much to 1 versus 1 action, but you can see that it's Breathe who's made the better moves into these team fights, and again, a player that we highlighted in the pre-show of this series. We are looking to him to be that playmaker, secondarily for Weibo in these team fights, to try to look to make something happen. As WE, they've sort of slowed down. Monki getting caught in that topside jungle really slowed their pace. You can see as the Atacon has spawned on this bot side, WE struggling to try and find their way in.
Oh no. Okay, I thought Vampire was going to get popped for putting that ward down. Chanter support really can't afford to walk up to these brushes just like the Alistar did from game 1. They'll lose mid-wave control, and this time Weibo won't look to posture back towards Atacon. Instead, look to reset back out on the map, maybe get their side waves in a more advantageous position, or at the very least make sure that WE can't do the same.
Second item picked up now for Monki. Waiting to see those second items be finished for Karis and Taeyoon before we really start to see WE be in a great spot to fight. So Moramana finished already for the Ezreal. We'll see whether or not we can get toward a second mask item for Karis, but Drake spawns in 90 seconds. Atacon already live on this bot side, and WE have been trying so hard for this tier 1. They may fight bot side though.
Redemption, Subjugate, Impale traded, but Monki comes out way worse for wear, and the Tempered Fate hits onto 2 members, and guess who they are? The bot lane that got that huge lead. It's squashed just like that. The General picks up the double kill, and now Weibo are looking to rout this early game from WE, and they've done so, and their prize is going to be this Octagon Roodood, as they are not slowing down.
It's the solo queue special for Light and Crisp here. Lose lane, win game, as a massive fight from the Weibo Gaming support secures them not just 3 kills, but an Atacon to boot. Double kill for Xiaohu, as he is now very happy with those couple of kills. Again, even more Victor Bucks being picked up for him. God of Ages ticks over. And I mean, this fight, it's all about the Bard. Finding a start off, yeah, it's not too great, but Redemption comes down early, keeps his Trundle alive. Double stun onto the back line as he flashes in after this, catches a double stun, beautiful. And the rest of it is just curtains. The rest of the team are just so happy to pick this up. Karis wasn't even a part of it as he's recalling bot lane. This is the power that Bard gives you that Karma could only dream of.
That's why we love Bard. Bard, such a fun support to watch when it's played at the highest level. You think about what Crisp was doing right now, you think about over in the LCK, Carry has had some outstanding Bard performances. Even to a lesser degree, we have our own NA guys doing it, but I can't focus on that right now because we're pouring all of our resources into Tian, who this time gets caught in the Impale, but somehow he flashes back out. He's healing through it all. Tian survives. But can Weibo still function without him? Very healthy in the fight. Yes, they can. If another Tempered Fate lands onto a low health member, it's Karis that eats the Arcane Storm. The All-Out pulls away his dead corpse as the rout comes on to Taeyoon, surrounded on all sides. Both carries down for WE.
And this game's over, Slayer. The Weibo composition scales so much better. They've got a 4k gold lead. They've got a Victor who's already at max stacks, 10 stacks on his Dark Zeal. Xiaohu is not looking like he's going to ever die in this game, let alone like he's not going to be able to win the game at all. And WE, they've just got nothing left in the tank, right? We look at their damage and it's just not consistent enough. Cube has to do so much work to try and get through the front line, but if he spends all of his time doing that, it's the back line that's just going to rip him to shreds. Tian once again, he thinks he's going down. Subjugate the tank, Redemption on top. He's fine, still fine, still fine, still fine. And WE have committed so much into him that it just allows Xiaohu to step forward. Taeyoon is 4 levels down on the Victor. He tries to go blow for blow with this Victor, but there's just too much health, there's too much damage, there's too many levels. The Ezreal at this stage in the game just cannot do anything.
Really feels like we've seen the 2 sides of the WE coin. Because the consistent thing has been they've been one of the most proactive and creative early game teams, thanks to Monki. But in game 1, We saw how they were able to transfer that into their win con, find success, run away with the game. Now, we get the issues with WE, where they get that same lead, but then they stall out. They're not as sure of themselves on the map. They don't have the strengths of a carry top laner when Cube comes off of a more sustainable tank. Karis doesn't show up as a big damage dealer in the mid lane, and this is what you get.
I do like the bloodletters here, right? You've got the Rumble on top, so it should be okay to get some extra damage in for Cube. And they're both benefiting one another with that, not to mention the penetration that comes with it. Taeyoon trying to pump out damage, but again at this stage, like, what damage are you doing to Breathe? Is he just going to catch Monki? Not quite actually with the W. Fortunately.
So tanky. I mean, Breathe just brushes this damage off like dust on his shoulder. Current Call's going to come out. The Graviton stun is going to land on the Monki. Temper Fate hits too, but Weibo this time can't afford to step up too far forward. That turret protecting WE.
Oh, good pillar too. Fine.
Graviton well, Arcane Storm, crit shots, a lot onto Cube. Will the ult find the kill? No. The Between Worlds for Karis is going to try and dip back in towards Breathe, who even in the all-out form still will just not die. Feels immortal on the Rift, and with all that damage pushed through onto Cube, the mid tier 2 is going to be knocked down for Weibo.
Oh, that's because he is a Mortal Slayer. Like, look at the damage profile coming in from WE. Ezreal, awful at killing tanks. Rumble might be okay, but he can never get in range without getting absolutely obliterated by this Victor and Jin combo, who are absolutely unchecked in these team fights. It's a 5k gold lead between WE and Weibo. And it's a good comeback from Weibo Gaming. Again, their stakes for this series are very high. Currently WE most likely to play in the play-ins, but I kind of value that they could be quite high. Weibo Gaming, though, they could still make it to playoffs without having to play that wet play-in match. If they take a win here, if they find maybe an upset win up against your IGs, your ALs maybe on a bit of a slump, very real possibility that this Weibo squad can end top 4, and I mean, Cube here just in no man's land. This feels like the Cube we're more familiar with.
It's Cube getting boxed in and packed out. And Xiaohu that's going to likely pick up the kill because he's got a book of his own. Up to 14 stacks here. WE just looked completely lost. And more to what you were talking about, Roodood, yes, dodging play-ins is one thing, but for WE in particular, we highlighted it after the Nirvana series. The difference between playing NIP or EDG right now versus an LGD or a Thunder Talk, night and day. Oh boy, and Vampire is very much dead. All right, see you later. Turret turned off. Tian not going to run too much more forward, but Monki is pinned up against his own jerk. Current Call coming onto the back line. Tian get an Arcane Shift back, but they lose their front line, and Breeze is going to flash after them, stun them both up, and say sayonara, Team WE. No Baron, no school needed. We got the qualified members, and they are going to send us the distance for our last series of the night.
Yeah, WE haven't found a kill in the last 15 minutes. It was 4-2 at one stage, and Weibo have just rolled them in the mid-game.
Big answer back from Weibo after scrambling to catch up in a game 1 that they never were able to find footing in. They put their foot down on the throats of Team WE as we go to game 3.
And a great win from Weibo. Again, not without its concerns, not without the small issues of the early game. But I do think that for the most part, Weibo understood what their job was, and I do think that WE lost this game. You know, they had the game in their hands. They're the ones that threw it away. Unfortunately, it was Monki in that topside jungle a couple of times, just actually going too far forward. Didn't quite have the full support of his team. And maybe that's a communication breakdown. Maybe it's him being a little bit too eager to push the pace of that game. I mean, you remember maybe 5 minutes into this game, we had 63 versus 33 CS for Taeyoon versus Light respectively. This game looked like it was just going to be an Ezreal pop-off and that Jin was never going to be able to do anything. And then you contrast how the game ends, where it's 17-18-4, the final kill score, and Weibo never seemed to be in too much trouble. A little bit of a problem where Taeyoon can't push the pace of the game, and I do think that actually Crisp in this game, my MVP for how well he was able to perform, not just because he found some really solid team fights, but also I think that those couple of interrupts on the top side we saw, as well as just the amount of nuisance that he was able to bring to those team fights, really gave him a very, very good position. And honestly, for me, he was the best player and the reason that Weibo were able to win.
And we'll see if Chris does end up gaining that Player of the Game award, but I want to focus back on what you talked about earlier and kind of simplify, dumb down how different of a game plan for WE can, out of the early game, can turn into two very different realities. It's a lot more complex than this, but game one, what was it? It was Xiaohu, you're getting ulted on by a Talia and a Pantheon constantly in lane phase. It's Xiaohu that we're going to put behind and make irrelevant. And that made it very hard for Weibo to play out. This game, you're putting a Jhin that can really play supportive with just snares and long-range curtain call slows behind, and you're letting Xiaohu on a Victor, another kind of like scaling, wants to play comfortable in lane pick, just do his own thing. And what did we see happen in this game?
Yeah, we saw the Victor take off. We saw the Victor take over as well. And it's always good to see Xiaohu performing. I think that this split has actually been, for me and for what I've seen from Xiaohu, he's been really, really positive. Not necessarily been one of the weaker points of Weibo, but there are definitely some instances where he's still causing problems for other teams, equally still causing problems for Weibo as well. But I do think that you can see in this damage graph, yeah, Light did nothing this game, but he was along for the ride. You know, all he had to do, maybe this was how the comms went. It was like, all right, like, listen, this game, this lane phase, not your fault. There's not much more you ever really could have done to prevent what Monki dished out for you. Let's just hit some deadly flourishes. Let's find some good snares, some good slows, and, you know, Papa Xiaohu will bring home the game for us. Yeah, I mean, look at those kill participations for WE. Now, you have to remember that they had 4 kills total this game. Karis got to be a part of one of them, but Cube, this game, he only died right at the very end when he got caught out. He was just farming PvE the entire game, and the game got lost around him, so it was a very quintessential top lane experience for him. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to have those impacting team fights either. And this is when WE already have a bit of an advantage, but you can kind of see that this was them being a little bit too aggressive, honestly letting Tian get way too close to them before they went for a turn to stop them from fighting. And you called it out in draft too, right? Monki wants to be a big playmaker with the Skarner. He gets in the early game, but you pick this full tank jungler into a Trundle, and Tian, I mean, he obviously doesn't click R on anybody else the rest of this game. And how many times did Monki try these engages? I mean, it's all 3 of these last plays. All right, I'm going to try and kill Tian. Redemption, I'm stealing your HP, and now your entire team's dead. And it's really solid. I think that Tian actually spent his time really wisely with his Subjugate, because he always waits for the charge of the Impale before he uses it. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to commit Subjugate until you decide that we're actually tussling here. And if neither of us ulti, I'm just going to win because I'm Trundle and you're a Skarner. So another double stun there by Crisp, once again, just highlighting this as the LPL observers doing Karis very dirty. And making sure that actually there's never really any world where WE can take these fights and can never actually kill Tian. No more apparent than in this final fight too. And for how much we talked about WE really committing towards their draft style and winning a game that they kind of took over earlier on, for talking game time wise, sub 30 wins are what I actually label as dominating in the LPL. Weibo gets the edge in their one game for sure. Yeah, and you know, they did dominate, right? We talked about the early game being pretty much WE running the Rift, but we got to that mid game, and honestly, the second that WE had to start making some choices about how they wanted to push the pace of the game, they were completely lost and they fumbled very heavily. We will have to see in game number 3 who can come out on top and whether Weibo try to adapt to their drafts. But player of the game coming up, my vote for Crisp, but we'll see if it's somewhere else. There we go. All right, yeah. Crisp gets it. Bard respect, gotta love it. Crisp's first MVP, a part of the new squad here, pairing up for Weibo and trying to help them up the standings here, as we've talked so much about Team WE at the bottom, trying to avoid an unfortunate Group Nirvana matchup. But as Roodood pointed out of the game 2, Weibo, you get to 4-4. You're really not that far away from a current IG, I know a current standings AL, and you're right in front of a JDG. So a torrential pace in the second round robin could get you out of the play-ins and into a whole different category. But what we're going to focus on now is our final game of tonight's LPL slate action here. Team WE, do they get to 2-7? Do Weibo get back to 500? All that will be decided in one final game. But before that, one final draft. And before that,